All your employees' qualifications and training at a glance.
Directly in your web browser or on mobile.
Make sure to stay tuned right here. Welcome to the webcast on the topic of qualification and training management. It's great to have you here. My name is Lars Ben Streeland.
Hello and welcome from me, Zal. My name's Daniel von Sundering.
Today, we would like to introduce you to IMS modules. To be precise, we would like to introduce you to the IMS modules qualification management and training management.
I have one more small thing. I also brought another treat. Today, we'll also be showing the integration into the checklists module.
Oh,
That's right. Yeah, that's interesting to see because it's a feature that has been requested many times and is now being offered by us. Let's take a look at it directly in the software. And I have brought the qualification matrix with me right away. The qualification matrix gives you a complete overview of all qualifications and their levels. Daniel, what exactly are we seeing here?
In fact, the qualification matrix shows me my employees along the x-axis at the top. That is, the employees who have been filtered in this list. On the y-axis on the left, I see an overview of the qualifications displayed here. But the interesting part is in the middle. There, we currently see a lot of colorful symbols, so we can see the combination here of requirements for a job. That is, whether an employee has a requirement here and whether that requirement is fulfilled in yellow, red, or green, respectively.
Now, of course, the question arises, how does the system know which requirements need to be fulfilled for each employee? Let's take a closer look at that directly in an employee record. So here, I select Gertrude as the employee record, jump into the employee, and can already see on the left side, master data that is assigned here. There is a name, there is contact information, and so on.
However, what's interesting here are the two qualification profiles that have been assigned to the employee. One is for financial accounting, and the other is a general onboarding profile. These profiles then contain individual qualifications that are relevant, for example, to performing the job. Each individual qualification has a certain level that has been achieved for this job, and now the system checks whether the current level is met. Based on the colors, I can immediately see here that out of the 4 qualifications, we have achieved 3.
For one qualification, the currently assigned level is not sufficient, which Gertrude does not have it, and that's why she is shown in red. And red means, in this case, that action is required. So that I don't have to look at one employee here and then jump to the next employee and then to the next one, jumping around just to get such overviews. That's exactly what the qualification matrix is for. Because this really is the complete overview of many employees with all their assigned qualifications on the y-axis.
You're right, this is an overview of many employees with a lot of information. Indeed. Now, to identify where exactly I have a need here, for training, can we reduce this qualification matrix to just the content that's relevant for us right now?
I use the filter dialog for that. And in this filter dialog, I will filter by qualifications. Specifically, I want to see the qualifications that are currently not met. So I select my Not Achieved option, start the filter, and now the whole thing is displayed in such a way that there are simply fewer employees, because now only those employees are shown who have at least one qualification that is red, meaning not achieved.
But the list of qualifications is still relatively long. This means that we can also reduce the list on the left so that only qualifications that are actually not achieved are displayed. In other words, a combination of both.
I activate that option as well, so the qualifications that are not relevant in this area are hidden. And after confirming, I really get a very compact list that now only contains the employees who have at least one. Red qualification, and likewise, only includes the qualifications in which at least one employee has a red status.
And so that you don't have to filter this list again and again, you can simply save the view. I might save it under the name Current Open Training Needs of my employees. That way, I always have a daily overview of where there's currently a need for training.
These insufficient qualifications for Gertrude here in the area of Excel, I'd like to do something about that now. I want to raise the qualification level. And when I talk about raising the qualification level, that's where our training module comes into play. In the training module, I have the option to assign an existing training. But as you can already see here in the lower section, there is currently no scheduled training that would cover Excel. So I choose the second option, to schedule a new training within the Babtec system.
To avoid having to build the new training from scratch, we use training templates here. That means you can create trainings in advance and mark them as templates, and then fill them with content as needed. That's what we're doing here now, so that there is already a certain amount of data available simply by selecting the template.
After I have now created this training, the qualification matrix also changes immediately. You can see that now this red symbol, which is assigned to Gertrude, gets a blue symbol as well. Additionally, she receives it. And this blue symbol indicates that yes, there is a qualification that is currently insufficient. Precaution has already been taken. There is a planned training that will soon ensure that this qualification is upgraded and thus turns green.
But in the qualification matrix, we can see that Gertrude is not alone here, but that there are more employees from her department who have to meet these requirements and who do not have them yet today. That means I now have to add more employees to the training sessions. One way to do this is directly here in the matrix, by tapping on the next employee and selecting Add to Training. Since we've already planned a training session, I can select it right away, and the employee is automatically added to the training.
Now, especially for trainings where significantly more employees are supposed to participate, it can become very time-consuming to assign employees one by one from the matrix, so there is also a second way. And this second way becomes apparent in the training module itself. I use the existing training as a hyperlink. So now I click on this training number, and the system switches to the training and shows me on the left side the master data. I can now add to this master data, for example, by saying, okay, I would like to schedule the training here on the 15th, and the whole thing should start at 10 o'clock. In the section for the end of the training, it will also be on the 15th, and the training should last until 4 p.m. Oops, again, 4 p.m., so 4 in the afternoon. I confirm, and I also want to schedule the effectiveness check by the end of the month. That should happen at 9 a.m. I click OK, and with that, I've added to the master data for this training. In this section,
how you document the effectiveness check is ultimately up to you. Of course, it may be that you do this directly via a dialog in the job, or you use proof in the form of a test to check whether the training was effective. Here, we offer you the option to directly integrate the checklist module. That means I am already linking an existing checklist here. And then I allow employees at the end of the assessment to document the effectiveness. We'll take a closer look at what that looks like in detail in just a moment.
We also had the task of showing you how quickly multiple employees can be assigned to a training. And we do that by activating the participant list here. Currently, it includes the 2 participants we added from the qualification matrix. Now I'll simply add participants. I get a list of all employees available within Babtec and can now add employees with a click. Cool, right?
Definitely. But I should first filter the employees who actually need this training. That means we'll set the filter now and ask the system, show me. But please, show me all employees who are required to have Excel Level 3 for their job profile and who have not yet fulfilled this requirement as of today. We've done that now, and the result is that we have exactly 3 employees who need this requirement but haven't met it yet, and for whom this training could also provide added value.
Okay, with that, the training is now complete for the time being. I have defined the content, I have assigned participants, I have linked qualifications, so now I am going to change the status of this training. And now I will proceed to officially schedule this upcoming training session. I will confirm by saying, okay, please go ahead and schedule it right now, so that the current status will immediately change to scheduled. And it's now about the process of actually conducting and managing the training session itself. And, well, to communicate the training to the employees. Daniel, how are you doing?
How exactly do we go about handling this specific situation? When we look at the calendar client, and in this particular instance, we are going to use Microsoft Outlook, we can see the full process in action. Outlook now automatically creates an invitation, directly adds the participants' email addresses in the To field, and also includes the time slot for the training. That means the start and end times of the training, as well as the description provided for the training, are included here below.
But for now, I'll skip sending this invitation, cancel it, won't save, and now I'm in the actual training session. And now I say, okay, this scheduled training here is really going to take place. I now want to provide the training to the employee.
And this training can be conducted in a variety of ways. Lars could now come by in person and give me an Excel training session. You could, for example, give your employees access to an online web-based training portal where employees can log in, watch videos, and train themselves. Babtec offers a learning app to register online and complete module-based trainings. So there are many different ways to complete or ultimately consume such training. The actual delivery of the training is not within the scope of training management. It's about organizing the training as well as documenting the effectiveness of the training.
And that's where we're going to pick up again now. That means we're going back to my computer. We've now scheduled the training. We're assuming the training has been conducted, and then we confirm, yes, the training has taken place. And as you can clearly see, by manually updating and modifying the current status of this training in the internal management software system, the effectiveness check is now being formally requested for a wide range of different employees across the organization. Because of the Excel training template, there is a linked checklist that is intended to assess the effectiveness for the employee. And due to the status change, a checklist to be filled out has now been generated for each participant, which serves to check whether everything worked, whether the effectiveness is ensured. We're not going to show you how to work through this checklist on a Windows PC, but rather on an iPad.
I've brought my iPad with me here and will now go through the checklist on the iPad. I'm going to access the checklist here simply by going through the dashboard. We've now prepared a simple dashboard here. Now let's focus on the gray number 1 here. That's the new checklist that's waiting for us, and it needs to be filled out. We go straight to the list of my open checklists. As I said, it's just one open checklist. I've also set a timeline here, so there are 21 days left, so to speak, until the proof of effectiveness. It has to be submitted by 9, but we're going to do it right now by simply opening the checklist.
If you want to know more about how such a checklist is created, which modular elements are available, and how it's set up, then take a look at the co-focus that specifically deals with the creation and management of this checklist. There's a separate video for that. Today, we're focusing on working through this checklist.
I've already started working through it. I'll jump straight into the checklist form and can first get an overview of what the checklist is about by looking at the top section here, the introduction. Now I'll scroll further down and see various elements that the checklist offers me. Now I'll just go through the questions and try to answer them since they were part of the training. Among other things, this is about which functionalities I'm familiar with. I'll confirm that here with yes and can select it accordingly. Here, I'm asked about various elements for applying cell referencing. Here, I would choose the one with the $sign because I'm sure that's the right one. That's the correct answer. Here, there's a question about how to use different counting functions to count empty cells. We can also achieve that objective quite effectively by navigating to the menu and selecting this function, which ensures that all your settings are applied correctly and consistently throughout the process without any manual intervention. Just to include everything. Finally, I confirm once again that I attended the correct training session by selecting the date for this training here. So now I select today's date here, confirm everything, a timestamp is set, and finally I can sign it again. We've chosen the handwritten signature here. So for example, I can enter my initials directly on the display. Let's do that now. There we go, and with that I have completed my checklist here. I've added my signature here again, and now I'm finishing the checklist. Only now do I see how the checklist turned out, meaning what the result is. Yes, I am pleased to inform you that I have successfully completed every single task required of me. And quite luckily, I have managed to pass every item on the comprehensive checklist, right? I have meticulously answered all of the specific questions correctly within that checklist, and I can now formally confirm that everything is in perfect order and absolutely okay for us to proceed. Carry out in terms of effectiveness.
I'm taking on this role now. I am now the training supervisor again. In this area, the training supervisor now uses the training module again to retrieve the results of the checklists. What does that look like in detail? We're back in the training section in the list of employees. And now I can simply pull up Daniel's employee record here. And in this employee record for Daniel, I can see the completed checklist. So here I can see that it is completed and accepted. If needed, I can even switch directly from this area to the detailed view of the completed checklist. And then I can see the individual answers again, see the free text information, and also the manually entered heading here. I then use this information to say, okay, Daniel, did a great job with everything. I would like to document the effectiveness here. A certificate is to be issued. I will arrange for that. And with that, confirm the effectiveness for Daniel individually.
Now, we have provided an employee with a positive proof of effectiveness. Of course, you can also respond differently to the other participants. For example, there is a participant who did not attend the training at all. Here I have the option to mark this participant as absent, so I no longer need proof of effectiveness for them. On the other hand, I still have at least 3 participants on my list for whom I also need to provide proof of effectiveness. We can actually do this now in a batch job where we mark all employees here and say you all will now receive it. A proof of effectiveness is recorded for all of them. Everyone also receives it via the checkbox. A PDF certificate is added to their employee profile. And optionally, if I wanted to, I could also add other documents that might be relevant for the proof of effectiveness here by drag and drop.
Up to this point, no certificates have actually been generated that are assigned to the employee's master data. No qualification levels have been increased yet. This is all just the initial planning for now. For documents to actually be generated and statuses to be updated, one important step is still missing. Namely, the completion of the training. I will now mark this status change, complete the training, and in doing so, I have really assigned various pieces of information to the employee. To understand the specifics of this achievement, we can now take a much closer look at the details by opening Daniel's comprehensive employee record right here in the system. Upon reviewing his profile, we can clearly see that he has successfully received Level 3 certification. This specific milestone is now prominently highlighted in a bright green color, indicating that the requirement has been fully met and officially achieved by him at this stage. How all of this happens can be seen through the training that is assigned here, and the proof of effectiveness, which is highlighted in green here.
Additionally, you can also access the documents attached to this employee profile. Of course, certificates have been generated through the training, which are directly available here.
Every report you see here is created using the built-in report designer. We provide reports, but you can also create your own completely freely. Okay, let's go back to our employee master record, back to the employee qualification. And within the employee qualification, you can now see that in the Excel section, all employees have a green qualification, except for this one employee here. She did not participate and therefore did not reach a level, which means that the qualification is not marked green.
With this, we've seen how you can document your employees' qualifications in compliance with standards, transparently display the history of qualification development in the system, and also provide evidence of training management directly within the same system. We've also brought a little bonus for you. We've demonstrated the integration of checklists, giving you the option to digitally document the results of this effectiveness verification.
Beyond what we've shown you today, there are many other features as well. We would be very happy if you simply get in touch with us so we can provide you with a more in-depth presentation of the module and perhaps even answer your individual questions.
To wrap up, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new videos. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Goodbye.